Tommy, Chucky, Angelica, and their dads are at the mall, waiting in line to see Santa Claus. Chucky's scared of Santa, is convinced that he's a bad person, but Tommy keeps insisting that Santa's a good person. Meanwhile, Angelica runs through the front of the line and begins to rattle off the list of toys she wants for Christmas, with most of her desired toy being a deluxe playhouse for a Cynthia doll. Santa Claus accuses her of being greedy, so Angelica pulls off his beard, revealing him as an impostor. Angelica rushes off, holding the beard up, screaming that Santa Claus is a fake. Back at Tommy's house, Drew's worried about the effect the events at the toy store earlier are having on Angelica, but Stu points out she doesn't seem that upset, and Chaz even adds how the manager of the toy store gave her a box of toys to make up for the incident. Phil and Will are impressed by the box of the toys, but Angelica is disappointed because none of the toys the store manager gave her were what she originally wanted. Even so, she refuses to share any of the toys with Phil or Lil. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the adults are talking about what they should do for Christmas. Chaz is worried that the holiday will be a disappointment for Chucky like it was for him when he was a kid, and Drew wants to reaffirm Angelica's faith in Santa Claus. Betty comes up with the idea to rent a cabin up in the mountain, complete with a Santa experience for the kids. Dee Dee goes to call a travel agent to book a place, while Stu and Lou go to get decorations and stuff ready. Back in the living room, Angelica's wondering what to do with all the toys she got from the mall when she gets a really naughty idea. First, she goes to Phil and convinces him to trade his Reptar doll for a box of crayons for Lil that she could use for her favorite coloring book. Then she goes to Lil and convinces her to trade said coloring book for a Reptar space helmet for Phil's Reptar doll. After that, Angelica's very pleased with herself. Meanwhile, Dee Dee's on the phone with a travel agent looking for a suitable place for Dee Dee, her friends, and their families, while Drew and Chaz are arguing over what to do to give the kids an experience with Santa Claus. Chaz wants to play the part himself, but Drew keeps insisting on hiring an actor to play Santa Claus. Dee Dee eventually finds a place up in the mountains nearby, to everyone's joy. Back with the babies, Tommy and Chucky are still arguing over whether Santa's a good or bad person. Grandpa Lou walks into the room and decides to tell the kids about Santa Claus, how he gave lumps of coal to bad kids. Angelica gets a little worried, but after getting back to the house later that day, she dismisses her grandpa's warnings as untrue. Later that night, Angelica has a nightmare where she wakes up to Christmas morning and rushes downstairs to open a very large pile of presents, but every one of them is the same thing, lumps of coal. Angelica doesn't get how Santa Claus could have known about the trick she played on Phil and Lil. At that moment, Santa himself comes in and tells her that as Santa Claus, he knows what she did. He confirms by saying that he got Phil and Lil a new Reptar doll and coloring book, respectively, to replace ones Angelica conned them out of, and laughs maniacally to what Angelica got as he buries her in a pile of coal. Angelica screams and wakes up from her dream. Her dad comes in and tells her that it's not Christmas yet. Relieved, for now at least, Angelica resolves to make amends for what she did to the twins. Later that day, all four families, with Spike in tow, drive to the mountains and get to their rented cabin. They start putting up decorations and getting dinner ready, while Angelica tries finding an opportunity to right the wrong she did to Phil and Lil. Her chance comes when Dee Dee and Betty take her and the twins to go chop down a Christmas tree. Angelica tries doing the right thing but gets separated from the twins when she falls onto the sled as it slides away. Betty and Dee Dee, meanwhile, search for the right tree. Dee Dee locates one she deems perfect. So perfect, in fact, she won't let Betty cut it down. Tommy and Chucky decide to booby-trap the cabin to catch Santa Claus so they can decide once and for all whether he's good or bad. They decide to block access past at the door, doggy door, and window, but ignore the chimney, thinking no one in their right mind would try climbing down the chimney, failing to realize that's how Santa always enters a house. Dee Dee, Betty, the twins, and Angelica arrive back at the cabin. Betty and Dee Dee set up a fake tree while Lou finishes the decorations. The others fix dinner. Soon, the gathered families eat Christmas dinner together, but soon the babies are sleepy and put to bed, much to Angelica's dismay. In bed, Tommy and Chucky try to stay awake to listen for the traps to go off, but soon fall asleep. Angelica is worried that because she couldn't fix her trick with Phil and Lil, she's ended up on the naughty list. She sees a TV ad for a Christmas hotline, so she calls a random number. The employee of the business she tried to call explains that she called the wrong number, but Angelica demands to speak with Santa Claus, so he plays along. Santa tells Angelica with a spark that she's on the bad list and hangs up. Late in the night, the sounds of booby traps being tripped are heard by the babies, who wake up and leap out of bed to see if Santa Claus is caught. However, they arrive only to see it was just stew. But moments later, there's a racket behind them as Santa Claus is suddenly in the fireplace. The babies freak out, but it turns out to be a simply disappointed Chaz. Chucky recognizes his father and gives him a hug to comfort him. Somebody rings the doorbell at the door, and Lou answers it. It's Santa Claus! Santa explains he couldn't go down the chimney because of Chaz. Drew invites him in, playing along as it's the actor he hired to play Santa. Santa gives all the babies presents and none of them are afraid, including Chucky. When Angelica gets her gift, she immediately opens it and is delighted to find it's a deluxe playhouse for Cynthia, and not Cole. Santa explains to her that he understands that trying to be good and fixing your mistakes is just as important as being good in the first place. Santa Claus departs after that because, after all, he has many more presents to deliver. Since it's almost morning, the grown-ups decide to open all presents now. The babies enjoy their new toys, but when Phil and Lil open the gifts they got for each other, they realize that because they gave up their Raptor doll and comic book respectively, the gifts are virtually useless because they're both very thankful that they were willing to give up their favorite toy for each other. Immediately afterward, Angelica gives back Phil and Lil's favorite toys. They hug and thank her as well. Chucky admits that Tommy was right about Santa. He wasn't so scary after all. The grown-ups exchange gifts, including Chaz and Drew. Chaz admits to Drew that hiring an actor to play Santa Claus is ultimately a good idea, but then their conversation is interrupted by a phone call. On the other hand, a man named Barney Stevens tells Drew that he's calling from his car phone and because of the snow, he cannot make it to the cabin in time to appear as Santa Claus. Drew becomes furious and the man hangs up, muttering how he hates Christmas. Chaz asks Drew what the phone call was about, and Drew starts to explain that it was the actor he hired telling him he could not make it. At the same moment, they both have the same thought. If the actor Drew hired did not come out in the first place, then who was the man that came and gave the kids presents? As they ponder speechlessly to themselves, Angelica is happily looking at her new deluxe playhouse. As she looks at the garage, wondering if it came with a convertible as well, an unexpected surprise shocks her. Dee Dee then wakes up and asks in curiosity, "Is that a lump of coal?" Santa flies over the cabin with his reindeer. He says, "Merry Christmas," and also writes the phrase out in the sparkly trail behind him in the sky.